Sending proper motivation, which consists of 3 parts: refuge field, body field, and the purpose of this practice. Refuge field, Bodhisattva is Holiness the Dalai Lama, Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Thara, Arya Veshapani, Arya Shantideva, Arya Geshe Lharampa, Arya Geshe Lharampa, Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Acharya Bodhicaryavatara, Acharya Nagarjuna, Acharya Shantideva, Arya Sangha, Acharya Vasubandhu, Acharya Tinaka, Acharya Dharmakirti, Acharya Shantideva, Acharya Shantideva, Acharya Kamalishi, Lama Selimba, Lama Dishadeva Parishirikyana, Guru Padmasambhava, Sajan Kumbhanimu, Sakya Pandita, Chisum Dilopa, Chisum Naropa, Chisum Marpa, Chisum Mela, Chisum Takpulachi, Lama Sungapa, Gilsa Rinpoche, Ketu Rinpoche. And all the sources of inspiration pertain to unconditional love towards all sentient beings and the wisdom of emptiness. And how you visualize them, that makes all difference. Visualize them like a very affectionate parents, and imagine that you come home demoralized, and your parents are waiting there to give full love, affection, attention, and so forth. Body in the field. Visualize your 2 grandparents on 2 sides, and all of your family members, including your children, and everyone, all sentient beings, human beings, animals, insects, spirits, god goddesses, hell beings, unused beings, all sentient beings in this universe living outside. And here you are the mother, and all others are your children. Children means they don't know anything. That is, we got opportunity to study, reflect, and meditate on the teachings of the Buddha, unconditional love of the Buddha, the Bodhicitta, wisdom, and so forth. Whereas all these beings, including your parents, where did they get opportunity to learn all these things? Never. So they are like small children. So we are like the mother, each one of you, we are like the mother, and they are like the very affectionate children. I imagine that they come home tomorrow and are so sad, and you are there to give full love, affection, attention, and so forth. And the purpose of this practice is to awaken this hidden treasure of the Buddha nature, the incredible precious gold mixed with the soil. And mixed with the soil, gold doesn't glow. Doesn't mean that the gold is not there. It's simply the obstructions are there. Gold experts will remove the soil, and as the soil is removed more and more, the gold inside will glow more and more. Likewise, although the Buddhahood is within us, but why it doesn't shine? Why we don't experience the fearlessness and the infinite happiness? It's because this treasure is hidden, blocked by something that is known as mental defilements. And these mental defilements, to eradicate these in order for the Buddha nature to shine out in the form of fearlessness and infinite happiness, we first of all need to resort to very powerful remedies to overcome these mental defilements. To apply the respective remedies, we need to know the nature of the defilements, and the defilements of 2 kinds, gross and subtle. The gross one referred to as the afflictive obscurations, the presence which stops us from achieving fearlessness or technically nirvana. and the subtle one stops us from achieving infinite happiness, technically addressed the Buddhahood. And the cross one is of three kinds: contaminant karmas, afflictions, and active seeds. And all these three somehow hover around self-grasping ignorance. And the grasping ignorance. And to eradicate this, we need to introduce the counterforce, the strongest of which, the most powerful of which is the wisdom of emptiness. If this wisdom of emptiness is driven by the force, motivation of renunciation, it will take us to get rid of the cross afflictions, cross mental stains, referred to as afflictive obscurations, thereby it will take you to fearlessness, nirvana. But is it that is driven by the force of bodhicitta, supported by great compassion, grounded on renunciation, you'll be able to eradicate all the mental stains, including the subtle ones, thereby allowing you to achieve total enlightenment, Buddhahood, or the infinite happiness. So the whole purpose of this retreat, study retreat, is to activate this reality, the wisdom of emptiness, and driven by the force of compassion. With that in mind, all the dear sentient beings are joining you, and you will yes, all Bodhisattvas, they're watching us, page 3. And through the great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Dharma, I pay homage. And here's with great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Dharma, I pay homage. And here's with great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Dharma, I pay homage. Sangye Jodan Sogye Jonama Chanju Bhakto Dhane Nyansuji Age Jinso Gebe Sonangye Drona Penjire Sangye Drobare Shoy Sangye Jodan Sogye Jonama Chanju Bhakto Dhane Nyansuji Age Jinso Gebe Sonangye Sangye Drupare Sho Sangye Joda Soge Shonamba Chanju Bhakto Dhane Gyaksoji Age Jinso Gebe Sonamgi Toda Bhajire Sangye Drupare Sho. I go for refuge until enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. Given and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no rising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, no sameness. I prostrate to the cosmic Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is the freedom of aberrations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who took the knowledge of all these hearers in place with complete peace, who took the knowledge of past causes of having migrated to achieve things in the world, and who took the possession of omniscience and subdued has expanded a variety of teachings. One who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teachers who guard and protect the Europe of frustrations. One who has eliminated the world of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound. Eternation for the forever noble light raised to you, the Buddha, in frustrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate a mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tesham Tathagato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Swaha. profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-light and non-composite. Such a nature like Dharma I've discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence or return inwards. Pure utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. Is ultimate apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times of your reasons. All composite things are impermanent, all contaminated things are of nature of suffering, all phenomena of the nature of emptiness and selflessness, transcending sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru's results are everything wholesome. I go for appreciating the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of expensive billions of eons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of the beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His special realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all limited miseries blooms. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Page 14. To the founder, the endowed, constant and destroyer, the one gone beyond, the whole destroyer, completely perfected, full of living being, perfectly in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, Lord of the world, supreme God of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the complete and fully awakened one, endowed, constant and destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shankar clan, are persuaded to make offerings from of refuge. When also from amongst humans you have all understood, you paid for 7 stripes, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise and prostrate, with pure bodies born supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, famed and blazed in the 3 worlds, below the best, Lord to you prostrate. With the supreme science face like a spotless moon, color like gold to you are prostrate. Justly like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one to you are prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, freedom married with qualities like a vast ocean, to you that the Thagadam prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from lower realms, one path is the one pure reality, to the Dhamma that pacifies and prostrate. Those who are liberated are also sure of how to liberation, wonderfully qualified with realizations, what glory to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha prostrate. Do not commit any virtuous actions, perform all imperfect virtuous actions. Secure mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of Buddha. Asar, a wish of aberration, a ephemeral land, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see condition, things as such. Through this merits may sentient beings attain their state of realm of all seeing. The little four falls and be delivered from samsara's ocean, but tell that ways of aging, sickness and death. Sutra, page 29. I prostrate to the Triple J. Thus did I hear at one time, the Buddha was dwelling on Master Vasa's mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Buddha was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena go to profound illumination. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Master, the Arya Nagarjuna, looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as ambiguous in nature. Then through the word of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Master of Arya Nagarjuna: how should any child of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of profound professional wisdom train? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Master of Arya Nagarjuna said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of profound professional wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those 5 aggregates also as absolute inherent nature. Form is empty, emphasis is form. Emphasis is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, fading, discrimination, cognitive factors, and consciousness is empty. Shariputra likewise, all phenomena are empty, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stateness, not without state, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no fading, no discrimination, no cognitive factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no vision form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object, touch, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element and so on up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so on up to and including no aging and death and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, no origination, cessation of harm. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, the Bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in professional wisdom. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times also manifestly completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment and reliance on perfectional wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the professional wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the mantra of unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the professional wisdom is declared, Yata Om Gade Gade Bara Gade Bara Sambade Bodhiswaha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in profound professional wisdom like that. And the Buddha rose from that concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice a profound professional wisdom, just as you indicated, even that the Bhagavatas rejoice. The Buddha having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna, who was surrounded in entirety, along with the word of gods, humans, asuras, and others, were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Buddha. Okay, as we start this house with the mantra, just visualize that the Buddha Shakyamuni is so compassionate, exalts us thus. Don't remain in fears of samsara. Come to result in happiness. By awakening, you see the Buddha nature within yourself. And you hearing these melodious words of the Buddha Shakyamuni, you then inform this to all the eternal sentient beings, including parents and children. Look, this is what a compassionate teacher Buddha Shakyamuni is exhorting us. Let us not remain in fears for samsara anymore. Let us all go towards ultimate happiness. And everyone hearing what you are saying, they are so happy, they are sad to join you in this journey of cleansing the mind towards Buddhahood. May all negative forces opposed to the completely pacified, may the host of 80,000 students be pacified, may we be severed from problems, conditions harmful to the Dharma, may all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma, may auspiciousness and perfect happiness prevent this place now. It was for my training. With the determination to achieve highest aims, for the benefit of all sentient beings, with some masters, even the wish fulfilling gem, may hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest of my soul, and from the very depth of my heart, respectful of what others are superior. In all my deeds, may I program my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of heavenly character, and those who are oppressed by strong negative suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a true treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly, their being stand under scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or whom I have pleased great hopes, wishes me to experience the hurtful ways, may I regard them still as my precious teachers. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the statements with aid to my daily concerns, and may I recognize in all things as illusions, the God of clinging will release from bondage. For my true collections, vast space and wellness, providing that I feel at this presence for a great length of time, may I be able to achieve the Buddha for all those whose minds respond to planted ignorance. Okay, 7 in practice, page 37. I bow down to you, Lord Amajishri. You are the Buddhas, the lights amongst humans, God of freedom in the present, past, and future, in the world of 10 directions. To all of you with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. With the energy or aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect, and with these many bodies as atoms of the world, to all the Buddhas visualize as real, I bow down. On every particle of Buddha's number is atom. Each of his with the infinite oceans of praise for you, and oceans of sound from the aspects of my voice, I sing the breathtaking excellence of Buddhas and celebrate all of you to others. Beautiful flowers and little garlands, sweet music sent to walls and pedestals, sparkling lights and sublime incense are offered to you towards ones of Buddhas. Fine dress and fragrant perfumes, sandalwood powder heaped high as small mirror. All wondrous offerings and spectacular array offered to you towards ones. The transcendental offerings, peerless and vast, with profound admiration for all the Buddhas, with strength and conviction in the Bodhisattva way, offer and bow down to all victorious ones. Every harmful action I have done with my body, speech, and mind, overwhelmed by the attachment, anger, and confusion. All this I openly lay bare before you. I lift my heart and rejoice in all the merit of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. Of solitary analysis here are still training and goes beyond, and of all ordinary beings. You who are the bright lights of worlds in 10 directions, who have attained the Buddha's omniscience through the states of awakening, all you who are my guides, please turn the supreme will of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly request you may actualize Parinirvana. Please stay with us by eons, numbered as atoms of the world, for the happiness and welcome of all wondrous in samsara. Whatever self-merit I may have accumulated by making prostration, offering, and confessing, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha's teach are now dedicated as full awakening for the beings. This ground adorned with perfume, streamed with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the folk holiness, the sun and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha field and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure land. May I be blessed that my mind is directed towards the Dharma. May I be blessed that my Dharma practices on the proper path. May I be blessed that the path is free of flaws. May I be blessed that flaws are seen in the love of exalted wisdom. Becoming utterly frustrated with ignorance and grasp that twigs us to please bless the genuine renunciation, seeing all aspects of samsara as viciously repulsive. Please bless me that my mind overflows with the passion of Bodhicitta and cherish others more than myself. Please bless me that by immaculate experience of the wisdom of emptiness that does not see even an atom of intrinsic reality on the basis of understanding how things come into being by dependent origination through mere conditioning. Please bless me that my mind overflows with the precious wisdom of the non-duality of bliss and emptiness. Edam Guru Rana Mandala Niratyami. Okay, foundation of all good qualities. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect pure Guru. Correct devotion to him is the root of power. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please invest and rely upon with great respect. Understanding that the present freedom of this rebirth is found only once, is really meaningful and is difficult to find again. Please bless the gently the mind that unceasingly to enrich Jesus' essence. This life is as a formless water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, results of wishes and non-wishes come and follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativity and accomplish our wishes deeds. Samsaric splendors are unsatisfying and unreliable. Seeking them to draw to all suffering. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless the general a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by His pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and great question arise. The root of the teaching is keeping reverential vows. Please bless to accomplish this essential practice. As the I fall into the sea of samsara, so fall mother vibratory beings. Please bless to say there is trained in Supreme Bodhicitta and bear responsibility to free migratory beings. Even if develop Bodhicitta, but I don't practice the 3 times morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. And clear recognition of this, please bless to practice the Bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I specify distractions to wrong objects and correctly analyze the meaning of reality, please bless the gentle quickly within my mind stream, the unified power will come about in special insights. Having become a pure master by training the original path, please bless the enter the holy gates of the enforcement ones, the supreme master of vehicle. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the 2 attainments is keeping pure vows in Samaya. As I become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and place for my life. Then I will realize the importance of the 2 stages, essence of Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, never giving up the full sessions. Please bless to realize the teachings of Holy Guru. I then may the Gurus who show the noble path and the spiritual friends who practice their long lives. Please bless to be pacified completely without any hindrances. In all my life, never separate from perfect Gurus, I enjoy the benefits of Dharma by completing the qualities of the stations of the path and could attain the state of Bodhicaryavatara. You are over the Tejvara, great treasure of non-referential compassion, and compassion, as well as Vajrapani, destroy both of demons without exception. So about crown jewel of the station with leather stones, no Santawai, they feed and make restorations. compassion, and Manjushri master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani destroyed hosts of demons without exception. Some have a crown jewel of the sage of the land of snows, of Santapa, to feed and make prostrations. Okay, three principal parts. Page 77. I bow down to the Venerable Lamas. As well as I am able, I will explain the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha, a path of praise for the conqueror's children, entrance for those who desire liberation. Listen to the clear mind, you fortunate ones, but not attached to the law. Start to make good use of leisure knowledge and unity, and direct your minds to the path that pleases the Buddhas. Without pure renunciation, an entry attraction to unattainable. The craving for existence also binds things, thus from the outside seek renunciation. Reverse attraction to this life. And without span. Reverse attraction to future lives by repeatedly thinking of the infallibility of karma and its effects, and the injuries of samsara. Contemplating thus, even for an instant, you do not admire the splendor of such existence, and in the attempt of liberation day and night, renunciation is born into death. However, renunciation is not tempered by pure mind of bodhicitta, does not bring forward the fact of supposite enlightenment. Therefore, the wise one generally the excellent mind of bodhicitta, stirred up in the current of the four powerful rivers, timed by strong bonds of karma so hard drawn into, causing the iron nerves of grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance, born and reborn, living a slightly existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three miseries. Thinking of your mothers in this condition, cherish the supreme mind of bodhicitta. Although you train in renunciation and the mind of bodhicitta, without wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, you cannot cut the root of sacred existence. Therefore, try to understand dependent arising. But it sees the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana, and destroys all focus of apprehension as they enter the path which pleases the Buddhas. Appearances are infallible dependent arising. Everything is understanding that is true assertions. As long as these two are seen as distinct, we will not yet realize the intent of the Buddhas. When these two realizations are concurrent, where the mere son of infallible dependent origination concurrently destroys all those grasping through definite discernment, at that time the analysis of the profound view is perfected. Furthermore, appearances refute extreme resistance, emptiness refutes extreme non-existence. Emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, you are not captivated by the view of extremes. O my child, once you have thus realized upon the three principal paths, seek solitude and cultivate strong determination, and quickly reach the final aspired goal.